So Juzi I was invited to go and and perform at Jamhuri Day celebrations. Na nikaitikia wito nikasema let me go do it. And I know so many guys know my stand when it comes to how things are in the country. And so many were shocked how come nilikubali kwenda perform at the Jamhuri Day celebration. And I had my own reasons. But najua wase wengi some were really disappointed, some didn't understand, some just jumped to conclusions. And I was like, it's okay, because I know everyone has their own opinion. And the most weird thing that happened is before we just jumped on stage, the whole crew, I remember I started receiving some phone calls while I'm still on backstage. Nangojea nashindwa hizi masimu zote zinatoka wapi. Then I discovered someone has shared my number for mimi nibaki nimesalimiwa. So nilisalimiwa vizuri. I can assure you, nilisalimiwa vilivyo. And I had that experience of being salimiwad. And I remember recently I went to visit my friend Osoro, Mheshimiwa Osoro, and he told me what really happened during that time and how he felt when he was salimiwad, and he told me it's not a good experience. So I thought, it's just a simple thing. And by the way, Kenyans can really salimia you. Na kuambia waswali nisalimia. My phone was off the hook. Ilikuwa inalia every minute. Like if there was any important call that was coming through, msange inipata, because guys were calling back to back to a level whereby there's no end between a phone call that imetoka sahi na ingine imeingia, because you couldn't even tell nani amepiga nani hajapiga. So I had to just leave my phone down. But after 1 hour I was like, hey, this is just becoming too much. And I decided, let me just try to pick some phone calls and talk to some guys and listen what they're saying. So I think the first 10 calls, 10 or 20 calls, I can assure you there was nothing constructive. Ilikuwa tu matusi and matusi. And matusi zilizidi. They became too much. But I was like, no, let me just listen to these guys. Exactly what's happening and why are they calling me and why are they mbona wananisalimia. So I wanted to meet someone logical and we'd have a discussion. And to be honest, that day I had so many phone calls and I had so many meaningful conversations with some people who were willing to understand exactly what was happening, and some were even advising me, some were even just wanted to talk. And I shared on Twitter on the percentage rate of how I concluded on that conversation, because like 30% ilikuwa tu matusi, 20% ilikuwa some guys who really wanted to have a logical conversation, and then like 20% ilikuwa say tu wanataka tu, well, they were just excited to have my number. They were like, hey daddy Owen, I have a number. And then like 10 to 15%, like 10% were guys who just wanted nitumie 1,000, nitumie 500, nitumie 200. And there are others who had some genuine concerns, and I had to make sure that nawatumia kakitu, and wengine wanataka tu lunch nikawatumia lunch. And most of zingine zilikuwa tu ni watu wanakuflash, ukishipikwa na acha. But I decided, apana, let me just soak this in and be a man and listen to these people. What are they saying? So I had conversation with so many guys. We had received so many calls from Taita. I don't know why, but it was interesting. One of the most interesting phone calls that I received on that day, there's a lady who works in town at the CBD, and she called me and she's like, hey, mjinga, nina. And I was like, let me just listen to her. And then I waited for her to vent. After venting, I waited for her to just calm down. After calming down, we started a conversation. So she told me so many things about this regime. How can I go and perform? How can I legitimize the regime? And I know what it has done and all that. And I was like, okay, let me just listen to her, because it's good sometimes to listen before you respond. So after all she said, I was like, I asked her, what do you do for a living? And she told me she has a shop in town whereby anauza masuti. And I was like, oh, so you sell suits? And she was like, yeah, at the CBD. And I asked her, so if one day President Ruto walks in her shop, you understand? Because we remember those days when Lucy Kibaki used just to walk into random shops and she does shopping in CBD and then she leaves. So one day Orezo aseme, let me just walk into her shop. randomly, si ati amesema ni yeye ama just randomly, and then Orizo was like aseme I want to buy 5 suits, and then I buy 5 suits na atoke. My question is, the moment ameingia kwa hiyo shop, you as the owner of that shop, nikauza dem, you as the owner of that shop, will you walk away? She's like, no. I asked her why. She's like, no, this is my hustle, so she has to so akikuja akibuy mimi nitamuzia because yeye ni customer. So nikamuza, the most important thing for you there is your hustle, si ndio? And she was like, yeah, so for you it's a business, you don't care about what is happening ama how your criticism work against you in this situation. And she was like, no, that one is different because this is business. And I was like, I just left her like that. I didn't even try to make my point, but I know right now venye alikata hiyo simu, alikaa chini akafikiria, akarealize, I can understand my point. So guys, nilisalimiwa, nikasalimika. I received more than hata kama ni I can't even count, more than 1,000 SMSs, WhatsApp messages. We had received so many M-Pesa. So walikuwa natuma a lot of M-Pesa, but zilikuwa bop. And so many phone calls zilikuwa za matusi, but nilisalimika. And I had the experience, I know how it feels. But those who we had a constructive conversation about exactly what happened, who they were very logical. I made my point, they listened to me, they understood, and even some apologized. Some even called me to tell me whatever you did was not wrong. So Kenya nilisalimika.